So, the Nintendo Museum is a thing that is happening. I think they revealed it in the only traditional Direct so far of 2024. And then just yesterday, they held a designated presentation to the Nintendo Museum in Japan. And all it needed to do, in order to impress me personally, was to have some Nintendo games, some Nintendo things, behind some glass, presented in a nice little lovely way. That would have been enough for me. I would have legitimately been motivated to travel to Japan to go and take a look at it. I know, I know that is probably stupid, right? To go and see a bunch of things, most of which I probably already own, being displayed behind glass in a different country. It's probably not. I should have higher standards, is basically what I'm trying to get across. But I don't. So that was all that it needed to do to impress me. And yet somehow, Nintendo just went above and beyond. They went absolutely above and beyond. So let's talk about the Direct. They open on the... Well, first of all, a little bit of history on the grounds. That was one of the original Nintendo offices, I think Miyamoto was saying. It's like where he used to work when he joined Nintendo. So that's really cool. That's like... It's a historical landmark in the sense that it is a museum cataloguing Nintendo's entire history, but also that it's like the actual original Nintendo office building. That's really, really cool. And yeah, they then show off the different floors of the museum. So on the bottom floor, they have exactly what I wanted. They have display cases with all of the different consoles, and all of the different Nintendo published software. All the way from the Famicom/NES, all the way up until the Nintendo Switch. And what I think is really cool is they have all of the regional variants of the consoles, the console boxes, and the games, and the game boxes. So on the NES specifically, they have the Famicom versions of each of the boxes, they have the North American version, and then they have the weird little PAL versions, which I'm only becoming more aware of the existence of fairly recently. For the initial run of Black Box NES games, the PAL boxes were they were in the middle of Famicom and North American NES boxes. It's really strange and really, really fascinating to me. I'm pretty sure that didn't last. I think we ended up just adopting the North American box art layout. But yeah, that's so beyond the point. They have all of the different regional variants of the box arts and everything like that, which makes it a really, really definitive collection, you know? They very easily... It's in Japan. They very easily could have gotten away with just having the Japanese cartridges and the Japanese boxes and the Japanese consoles, but no, they've gone above and beyond to make sure that every region is properly represented. And I think that's really, really cool. I'm super happy about that. They also have a lot of stuff from before the video game era. They have, I think, every single toy and pack of Hanafuda, I don't know how you pronounce that, Hanafuda cards that they ever produced. It seems like they have a complete catalogue of all of the products that they made in the toy industry before they got into the video game industry. And again, that's incredibly cool. I don't know if they're original copies or if they're replicas or something, but if they're originals, they are in really, really good condition. I'm actually just watching the Direct in the background of me doing this, and there is actually some little visible wear and tear on some of the boxes. So this seems to be actual original pieces of Nintendo history, you know? Like, people would kill to own these things. And they're being put on display here and catalogued, and that's really, really cool. They're being preserved in the most, like, the best way they could be, really. Like, who better to preserve these Nintendo products than Nintendo in a publicly viewable, official capacity? That's incredibly cool. However, in my opinion, the absolute coolest part of that part of the museum is the giant controller replicas. Above every single cabinet, there is a just huge replica of that system's controller. And if it's a handheld system, like the DS or the Game Boy or even the Switch, it is just the console. It's just a giant version of the console. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So yeah, that, just the first floor, my expectations are met and exceeded. Then they go on to talk about the interactive nature of the museum. Because I forgot, you know, I just kind of forgot that this is Nintendo. This is kind of their whole thing, you know, making everything they possibly can interactive and fun. And they are doing this with a museum, which is a crazy concept. I know that, like, a lot of museums have, like, little interactive learning exhibits, but this is like this is the next level. So they show off like an area of the floor that has a bunch of digital Hanafuda cards. Again, don't know how to pronounce that. I'm very British. And they have people, I forget exactly how it works, but, like, you can interact with them by scanning them with your phone. And so they showed a lot of the museum staff kind of walking around on their phones, interacting with all these cards behind Miyamoto when he was explaining how it worked. And I'm not gonna lie, it was really fucking dystopian. It was the most bizarre thing to watch. Like, Miyamoto is proudly presenting this really cool concept, and then there is just people on their phones, staring at the phones, walking around behind Miyamoto. It's really, really strange. But, you know, I get it. I get the concept. People are always on their phone anyway, so why not give them something to actually interact with in the museum while they're there? And I think that's really cool. Then they showed off little rooms that had, like, they were set up like different styles of 80s Japanese homes. And they were setting up, I forget what it's called, but, like, they made like a baseball pitching toy that automatically pitched baseballs to whoever was using it. And they have rooms where you're supposed to hit those towards anything that looks valuable. Basically, like, everything that you can hit, it interacts in a different, predetermined way. An example was, like, there was, like, I don't know, I think they were like beer bottles or something on a shelf, and when you hit them, it rotates and it says, like, Mario and Luigi and stuff like that. And there was loads of different ways to interact with the rooms by literally smacking the things with balls as hard as you can. So a little bit concerned about the longevity of that one. Like, what if someone really strong comes in and just completely fucks shit up? Like, that would be not good. Surely. I don't know, though. I'm not a scientist. I don't make museums for a living. Then they went on to show, like, light gun game functionality. They were talking about, Miyamoto was talking about how, like, Nintendo took over bowling alleys and stuff like that with, like, light gun games. I didn't know that. That was a piece of Nintendo history that I was just not aware of. And so they've tried to replicate that with, like, modern replicas of the NES Zapper and the Super Scope for the SNES. And they have a game where it's you and like 7 other people, and you just gotta shoot shit and go for a high score. And that looks really fun. They have only shown it being Mario themed so far, but it looks like you're shooting paint, so it kind of has that Splatoon element to it. So I wonder if there's gonna be like multiple themes. I think that would be really cool. So yeah, that's kind of like a competitive game to play with either the people you're visiting with or just other visitors. You know, it doesn't have to be people you know. You can just battle anyone by shooting the Koopalings and Goombas and trying not to shoot Peach and Mario and Luigi. It looks really fun. Now, one of probably the most unique thing, actually, that this museum has is cooperative gaming spaces. Just hear me out, because I know that doesn't sound impressive, but I believe this is its own floor, or at least its own dedicated room, and they have giant replicas of the controllers for different games, including Wii remotes, which is really, really funny. And you have to work together with another person or other people to control timed challenges in some of Nintendo's most famous games. So the one that they showed off most prominently was the original Super Mario Bros. And Miyamoto was on the giant Famicom controller D-pad, and one of the not the hotel staff, one of the museum staff was using the A and B buttons. And that's a bizarre concept, first of all. But it offers cooperative play in the museum. So you gotta try and work through little time challenges, and they showed off like Super Mario Brothers, and they showed off like Pilot Wings Resort, or no, not Pilot Wings Resort, sorry, Wii Sports Resort on the Wii. And they showed off just a bunch of different games that like you play with another person on the same controller. And like the giant Wii remote replicas, you have to work together to move the Wii remote to replicate the motion controls. It's fucking bizarre, but it's really, really cool, and it's really unique. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this Direct. It's that they Nintendo'd it. You know? They took a thing that people have done before, that you would expect to be a certain way, and they've made it not that way. They have given it their own incredibly unique and fun spin. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's not gonna be easy, but I really, really, really want to go to this museum. I mean, you get greeted by 5 little toads. That's fucking adorable. I want to be greeted by toads. So yeah, I'm just blown away by how incredibly unique this concept is. And I hope to one day be able to visit it. But for now, I'm gonna go to sleep and dream of having a giant Wii remote to play Wii Sports Resort with. That's the dream right there. That's... Whew! Not jealous at all.